We're going to ultimately set up two equations to solve this problem. If you read through to find out what you don't know, those are always going to be your variables. And however many things you don't know is how many equations you need to create. So when I run through and finally says, find the number of sodas sold and the number of hot dogs sold. The first thing that you want to do is define your variables. I understand that sometimes you get lazy, and so do I, when it comes to defining your variables, but on the state test, defining your variables gives you an easy point. So I'm going to put down here that S is the number of sodas and that H is the number of hot dogs. Okay, again, whatever it is we're trying to find, those become our variables. There are two things I want to find, so I'm going to ultimately write two equations. And the first equation I'm going to create using this sentence, that the combined total of 141 sodas and hot dogs. So if they sold a combined total of 141 hot dogs and they sold S sodas and H hot dogs, then that means if I add the sodas and the hot dogs together, I get 141. Okay, then the next equation I'm going to use to write, next sentence I'm going to use to write an equation is the number of sodas sold was 45 less than the number of hot dogs. Often we look to translate, like we see a word, we write down a letter, we see another word, we maybe write a minus for less than. But I think sometimes with the less than, it's easier for you to just decide first which one of those is the smaller amount. The number of sodas sold was 45 less than. So the soda number is smaller than our hot dog number. So if the sodas are smaller, then how could I get 45? Well, if you took the big one minus the small one, I should get 45. So that's one way to think of that. So the big one being the hot dogs minus 45 will give me the smaller number. You could have also written the smaller number plus 45 equals the bigger number. Okay, now that I have my equations, I'm going to drag down this first equation here. So S plus H equals 141. I'm going to go ahead and use the substitution method because one of my variables is already by itself, which means I'm going to replace this S with H minus 45. Okay, so I've got my plus H, my 141. So this S, I'm going to replace with H minus 45. Okay, now this equation only has one type of variable in it, and H plus H on the same side makes two H's. To finish solving this, getting H by itself, I want to add 45 to both sides to get the H by itself. And I end up there with 2H equals 186. Divide both sides by 2, and I get 93 hot dogs. Now that I know there are 93 hot dogs, I can take that piece of information and let's substitute that back into this equation right here. So the 93 is going to go in for the H. Okay, so let's put in the 93, and 93 minus 45 is equal to 48.